Elite Facts presents
10 awful things inspired by TV.
10.
Twilight. There are probably several people out there who believe that it was a crime that Twilight was made into a movie in the first place. But Twilight did have a hand in inspiring a few crimes, and the most notable of these involving a young teenage boy in Des Moines. When a 13-year-old girl came forward about being bitten by her classmate on her hand, the administration investigated and it was discovered that the boy had bitten 10 other students. The boy's father came forward to say that it was because of the boy's love for Twilight that he committed these acts. The boy was referred to juvenile corrections.
9.
Project X. A movie about a group of nerdy teenagers and their party that goes awry was bound to end in copycat parties. Teenagers didn't view this film as a lesson in what happens when you lose control of your party. Instead, many used it as a how-to for the ultimate bender. Because teens tend to emulate what they see on screen, upon the release of this movie, parties with thousands of attendees started sprouting up all over America. Teens were also illegally entering abandoned buildings in the hopes of throwing the biggest party of the year. The situation became so serious that Warner Brothers had to release a statement telling teenagers all over that it's just a movie, and so basically, stop it.
8.
The Town. Apparently, there were several people who saw Ben Affleck's Oscar-nominated movie and were so inspired by the donning of nun costumes and the robbing of banks that they wanted to do it themselves. A group of men in New York were able to commit over 60 copycat burglaries from various businesses from Brooklyn to Queens. You could even say that the men involved watched The Town like a how-to video, given that their techniques were direct copycats from the movie, including cutting the power supply to the location, using bleach to destroy the DNA evidence, and wearing headlamps to see in the dark.
7.
Scream. It was set up as a good source to learn how to commit a murder, and a number of copycat crimes arose following Scream's release. In 2001, a 24-year-old man named Thierry Jaredin was propositioning Belgian teenager Alison Cambier, and when she declined his advances, he put on the infamous ghost face costume and stabbed her 30 times in the same manner that the movie's first victim died in the opening scene. Jaredin stunned police as he admitted that he modeled the murder after the movie. He had no violent criminal history either.
6.
Money Train. This comedic film depicts an elaborate heist that involves a thief named The Torch, who robs a subway toll booth and then sprays it with gasoline and sets it on fire, all with a clerk trapped inside. Of course, in the movie, the clerk walks away and survives the blast. Unfortunately, there are some people who have a hard time separating fiction from reality. After the film was released, there was a spate of attacks and attempted robberies targeting subway clerks, all involving lighter fluid sent through a coin chute while being set on fire. One 50-year-old toll booth clerk suffered burns on over 75% of his body and died several weeks later.
5.
Saw. For this one, you may need to sit down. The Saw movies themselves were disturbing enough, presenting the psychopathic antics of the Jigsaw killer. A mother in Salt Lake City turned in her son and his friend after she overheard them discussing a plot to set up games just like Jigsaw with cameras and camcorders, all just to teach a lesson to two girls and a police officer.
4.
The Matrix. So many people have been inspired to commit crimes because of The Matrix that there's an actual legal term known as the Matrix defense, where lawyers will advocate that their clients believe they are in an alternate reality. This defense worked for a San Francisco man named Vadim Misaj, who dismembered his landlady because he believed she was sucked into the Matrix. He was found not guilty by reason of insanity. But the most famous case was in 2002 when the infamous Washington, D.C. sniper attacks took place. Lee Boyd Malvo was arrested and convicted for his involvement in the heinous acts, and it quickly became publicly known that he was obsessed with the concept of the Matrix and the blurred lines of reality and fiction. He even wrote "Free Yourself of the Matrix" in his prison cell.
3.
Fight Club. The first rule about Fight Club is you don't talk about Fight Club. And the first rule for fans should probably be that you don't mimic the shenanigans you see in the movie or read in the book. Inspired by Brad Pitt's character, 17-year-old Kyle Shaw set off a bomb made of electrical tape, a plastic bottle, and fireworks inside a Starbucks in the Upper East Side in 2009. Shaw pled guilty to the charges of criminal possession of a weapon and attempted arson and was sentenced to 3.5 years in prison and 5 years probation. So much for launching his own Project Mayhem.
2,
Dexter. The hit television series on Showtime has inspired quite a number of crimes. The most famous of these was the case of 17-year-old Andrew Conley, who strangled his 10-year-old brother because he felt that he identified with the main character. While he was awaiting trial, Conley was asking about the series and even discussed major plot points of the show with his lawyers. Another man, Mark Twitchell, was inspired by Dexter's unique form of vigilant justice. He's been imprisoned for the murder of a man he met online while he was posing as a woman. Even after his trial and conviction, Twitchell continued to watch the show from prison.
1,
Birth of a Nation. Set in the United States South during and after the Civil War, this notoriously racist and one-sided film was directed by D.W. Griffith. The movie was considered to be cutting edge at the time, with its camera angles and close-ups, as it depicted the North as the bad guy and the South suffering from the violence of freed slaves. While the film overall was controversial and considered to be distasteful, it sparked a resurrection of the Ku Klux Klan, which had initially disbanded in the 1870s. The film depicted attacks on white women by black men, which incited heinous crimes on black people with racist motivations.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.